Welcome to another episode of I had to kill the AC, so I'm sweating profusely. Hi. So once again, we set out in a desperate attempt to escape the biggest city in the world, the concrete beast called Tokyo. We set our sights on Yamanashi Prefecture's Yamanakako, or rather, we booked the log house by the lake to chill, grill, and of course shoot some film. Inevitably, we got into traffic jam after a few minutes of driving. So much for high-speed road. More like barely moving road. We stopped at the service area and had some lunch. We didn't shoot anything here yet, since there was nothing to shoot anyway. I had my trusty Olympus 35 SP with me, but it was still empty at this point. Well, sort of trusty, but more on that in a different video. After we arrived to Yamanakako, we first stopped at a cafe known for its cakes. After we spiked our insulin levels, we headed to a store to stock up, before we could check in. There I, of course, on the first try, loaded film into the Olympus. I loaded 400D by Merix to test it out. Just like 800D, it is supposed to be like CineStill, but 400D this time. And then we headed into the store. Of course, we only bought the most necessary items. But it wasn't enough. So we moved to a different store to finish our shopping and prepare for the evening. We finally arrived at the house in the afternoon. The log house was great. It had a pleasant wooden smell and vibe and a great yard with grilling area. We cracked one open to start the evening. We hung out for a bit before we decided to explore the near lake while it was still light outside. We didn't have to go far as the lake was basically right in front of the house. So we walked around just a little bit and took some photos in the waning golden hour. I think some of those shots turned out alright. So 400D, halation slap you right in the face, but the colors are rendered nicely. At least most of the times. But as always, I also shot on my digital camera. The stock is punchy but not overpowering and has a good latitude, so a lot of the shots were fine even if shot in dark or backlit. Although that's when the halations went hog wild, which was my fault, I guess. When the light started fading out, which in Japan is super early, we went back to the house and started preparing for the barbecue. We had some drinks, ate delicious barbecue, and then had some more drinks. But in the end, we got hungry again late at night, so we decided to hit a nearby convenience store. The next day, we woke up fresh, with hints of hangover and tiredness, but we were ready for the next day. We hit up a nearby bakery and finally had a clear view of Mount Fuji, which was covered with clouds the previous day. Classic Mount Fuji. The bakery was great and we got some freshly baked pastry for breakfast. After we stuffed ourselves, we cleaned the house and the grill, and then I loaded the Checkmate black and white 100 ISO film into my Yashica. I slapped an orange filter in front of the lens and scouted around. My ape brain thought I needed to compensate for the filter, so I rated the film at 50 ISO for a few shots. But the Yashica has TTL metering, or through the lens metering, so I overexposed those shots by one stop. Well, it happens. I mainly wanted to test the filter, but didn't have any high-speed black and white, so this had to do. After a while, we left the house. We drove over to neighboring town Kawaguchiko and then took ropeway to an observation platform to get a nice view of Mount Fuji. While we still saw Mount Fuji on our way there, when we got to the top, it was, as usual, covered with clouds. We waited for a while, but we had more plans, so we got moving. Mount Fuji showed its head here and there while we were moving the other way, but we couldn't really stop anyway. When we arrived to another town, we waited for a bit to get into an udon restaurant. I decided on cold udon noodles with tempura, which felt really refreshing considering the scorching heat outside. Then we walked around the town, went to get some much needed coffee and beans to take back home, and then ended the day with cooling our feet in a small river. But the light was already fading and it was time to get going back home. We managed to sneak few more glances of Mount Fuji from the car on the way back and finally arrived home after going through another slow traffic on the highway. So 400D by Merix. Overall, I really liked the stock, and I was very happy with how the photos turned out after just converting them. There's quite a bit of light leaks, but I think they can add character into some of the photos. Most of the shots, even the test ones, turned out alright and I got some keepers from this roll. Personally, I really like these, but let me know what you think. So that's it for now. See you in the next one. Okay, bye. And we got some freshly braked. The bakery.